So what we came to understand was that money conflict is really rooted in a clash of money values.
So here are the 4 most common money values.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, so glad you've joined us for A Better Us. Welcome to our home.
Okay, so it's been said that the handling of finances is one of the major emotional battlegrounds in any marriage. Multiple studies have proven that of those experiencing relationship stress, money was the primary cause of friction. Needless to say, we all need help in how to better navigate the money minefield of marriage.
On today's show, Neil and Sharol Josephson will be here to share some insight into how to better understand your spouse and how they view money. They call it our money values. And it's when those values clash that we have problems.
Also, Bill and Pam Farrel will give us practical ways to walk through making a big decision as a couple. This also has the potential to be a real head-butting moment, but according to Bill and Pam, it doesn't have to be.
Right. And there will be no butting heads in the kitchen with our kitchen couples, but maybe some meeting of the minds. All of our kitchen couples are here, and we're glad you're here too.
So stay with us.
Money is often named as one of the top contributors to conflict in marriage. When Neil and I started coaching couples and they'd come to us with their conflict over money, our go-to response was typically, well, get a budget and get out of debt, which is really good advice, but we started to see people who had a budget and they were still fighting over money.
And we also worked with another group of people who are not only not in debt, they had piles of money. They had Scrooge McDuck money, and they were divorcing over money. So what we came to understand was that money conflict is really rooted in a clash of money values.
So here are the 4 most common money values. Money is status, money is security, money is enjoyment, money as power. Which one do you think is your primary money value? We'll give you an example that'll give you a pretty clear idea.
So let's say you set out to buy a vehicle and you both agree that you need a new vehicle. So that's not where the conflict's coming from. And it's not even coming from you prefer one vehicle and I prefer another one. It's rooted in our money values. Let's say one of you is drawn to a brand new vehicle, you know, full warranty, all the latest bells and whistles. It's got that new car smell that we love. And the payments aren't even that bad because we're going to spread them over 8 years. And maybe you take this position because your prime money value is money as status. I need that new vehicle. I know it's expensive, but my brother just got a new car and I've always felt in his shadow, I need a vehicle that's bigger than his and nicer and newer. That's maybe money as status. Now, maybe your spouse would be happy to see you in that brand new expensive vehicle, except that their prime money value might be security. And borrowing that much money and carrying it for 8 years makes them really stressed, really anxious. And there's other reasons for wanting this other vehicle. Maybe our money value is enjoyment, and that's certainly mine. So honey, I know it's expensive, but there are 8 seats so we can take our whole extended family when they're here on vacation. And we can take all our friends with us. It can tow a boat, Sharol. It can tow a trailer.
And your money as security partner says we don't even own a boat or a trailer.
Yeah, not yet, but wouldn't that be fun? See, that's money as enjoyment.
Yep.
There's one more money value that really underlies a lot of money conflict, and we often don't want to talk about it, and that's money as power. Apart from the decision about whether we should make this expenditure or not, the big question is, who gets to decide? Who controls the money? We've seen couples manage their money in a lot of different ways, and they can all work, but what doesn't work is not talking about it.
Yeah. So here's what we now say to every couple we coach. Money decisions will need to be made. Money's part of almost everything we do in life. And by all means, make and keep to a budget and manage your debt. But the answer to your money conflict isn't about solving those things, and it's not about chasing more money. In fact, the more money you make, the more differences in your money values will be apparent in your relationship. So the way forward is to know your own money values, know your spouse's money values, and then have honest conversation about what's contributing to the conflict between the two of you. It's probably not about which vehicle you drive. It's about the values that are driving your money conflict.
Well, welcome to our kitchen where if I had my way, we would be having the best, most expensive steaks every day. But alas, it's not about my needs and my enjoyment needs.
Money as food? I don't know.
Anyway, we need
they
to welcome
said?
our kitchen couples, Mike and Diane and Eric and Kara.
If there is steak on the table, though, I'm going to put an order.
You're there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So money conflicts, like really, it's interesting that they divided them up into 4 different areas. So what were they again? Status, security, enjoyment, power. So did anybody see yourselves in those? I don't know. I hear some giggles from this side of the table over here.
We cower a little bit.
Are you the same or are you different?
I think we may be closer than we think.
Yes.
Because mine first would be security,
Yes.
right? Just making sure that we're secure. There's this saying called money poor, right? When you grow up and you didn't have a whole lot. And then when you come into, finances and you're doing okay, sometimes you get to that point where you're afraid. You're afraid to spend. You're afraid that you're gonna lose everything. You're afraid, And
So that makes you want to tighten the purse strings.
Exactly. You want to be careful and, well, maybe I can't afford this, because I'm good to say, oh no, we can't afford that. And he'll be like, you can afford it. Like, do you want to spend it? Because you can't afford it. But I'm so used to saying, oh, we can't afford that because, growing up with not having much, oh, we can't afford that. We can't do that. No, let's not do that.
Right? Diane, I have heard you tell your story,
Right.
and it's very moving. So I hear what you're saying.
You're here. Yeah, absolutely.
She has learned how to enjoy it.
I have learned. Fast forward. I have learned how to spend and enjoy.
Yes. I think the one thing we probably do best, because certainly security is high on both of our lists. I grew up modestly. So my mom, single parent at first, but I never had a need, right? And so while we didn't have a lot, we were well taken care of, if you will. But as we move here, I think security was really important, and we wanted to enjoy a little bit, but I think the thing that we're probably strongest at is power, and that is the way we try to use our resources, right?
1000%.
And so we've probably been more responsible there than the other areas.
Yeah.
And if you're unified in that, then that's a power couple. Yeah.
Okay, but they say that money values are an extension of your personal values.
Okay.
So that's interesting, right? Right. Yeah. Money values are an extension of your personal values.
And what is really challenging is a verse that says the love of money is the root of all evil. And that's a challenging concept, right? Because, while we value security and enjoy, and we think we do a really good job of using resources, I think it's very comfortable when you're able
I guess
to
the bottom
earn.
line is, do you have money or does money have you?
Yes.
It's where your focus
That's
is,
right.
right, guys?
That's
No,
right.
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
We were watching this and we are right in the conversation of what to do with vehicles and
Yeah.
like what they were
brought
talking
up as an
about.
example, and we're right in that right now.
Because we've got to say right now that you are 7 weeks away from having baby number 3.
Yes, we are
Yes.
Very
So your lives are
excited.
going to change.
About today.
But that also
Hands
means
is on.
that also means, can we actually fit 3 car seats in a row? Because our vehicle only is 5 seats. So now we're in the conversation. We need to either get a bigger vehicle, and what does that look like? Should we? And I feel like we found out that my money value is more security.
Well, what I was like
I'll let you
working
explain.
through is, what if you are in the same box but your outcome looks different? So like I have security needs for money, how we spend it, and so does Eric. So for this car, for example, I am leaning more to the side of the newer vehicle.
She wants to buy a brand new vehicle.
And Eric is leaning more to the side of saving money and get a used
an
vehicle.
older used vehicle. But the values, the money value is still security, but her view is, if we get a newer vehicle, it's safer for
get
the children.
warranty, the
it'll last longer, reliability.
like it
where
could be cheaper
I'm
on
more,
gas.
I'm more well just in this current climate of our finances. It'd be better if we had something cheaper that.
Because we're saving money
exactly,
and it will still work.
We have a third baby. Yeah, we'll talk about it in the 5-seater car, sweetie, on the way home.
Way home. But that's where I went down to, is what if you're in the same box but it looks differently for both of you? So it might not be that you're trying to fight because you want to be, whether you're in the power box or the security box or the pleasure box or whatever box you may be in. What if you're in the same one and now you have to figure out, even though you're in the same one, you're on the same team, and how do you use that to better each other?
And I
in
like
your
that,
marriage?
you're on the same team. We have to keep coming back to that, don't we? And all of these potential conflict things, we've got to keep coming back to we're on the same team.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so, well, we could get into a lot more about this.
There's
but,
always more to talk about.
There is. But we're going to move along because there is more A Better Us coming. Thanks, guys, for sharing that.
Stay with us.
And I was very glad to learn that decision making is a skill that anybody can become proficient at. So we want to share with you what we've learned about making decisions, because if you're good at making decisions as a couple, you're going to like being together better.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann here. We're so glad you're with us at A Better Us, and we pray your marriage is blessed as you take this in.
Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and enjoy this video.
So many decisions. When I was writing 7 Simple Skills for Every Woman, came across a study that says there are more than 5,000 decisions per day in the average person's life. And so the more decisions there are, the more your stress can rise unless you become great at decision making. Proverbs 18:15 says,
The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. And verses like this became really important to me because I didn't learn decision making growing up. In my home, my mom just made all the decisions, and she told us what our decisions were. And I honestly thought some people were born good decision makers and other people just, you kind of muddle through life. And I was very glad to learn that decision making is a skill that anybody can become proficient at. So we want to share with you what we've learned about making decisions, because if you're good at making decisions as a couple, you're going to like being together better. So the first test that you can apply to any decision that's in front of you is what we call the obvious test. The obvious test is one question. Is this decision so obvious I'm wasting time thinking about it?
like, should I get out of bed? Yes,
Yes.
you should. Should you brush your teeth? Yes, you should. So some decisions are just simple, just do them. And
Right.
if you're stuck at these simple decisions, reach out for a counselor.
And some decisions are really obvious because God's already clearly spoken about them in His Word. And so best practices, clear revelation gives you obvious decisions. And when you make those obvious decisions obvious, it saves energy for other decisions you have to make.
This is God's will, that you should give thanks in all things.
Right.
Just one example in the
Right.
Bible, this is God's will.
The second test you can apply to every decision you have to make is what we call the wisdom test. And in Proverbs 15:22, it says, without consultation, plans are frustrated, but with many counselors, they succeed. And talking to many counselors is the path to wisdom. And when you're faced with a decision, you tried the obvious test and that didn't do it. The next step would be to apply what we call the wisdom test, which is a series of questions that have the potential of making the decision obvious. So the first question is, does this decision line up with my convictions? The second is, will the people I respect the most agree with this decision, and have I asked them?
Does this decision, is it based on healthy boundaries that show respect for me and others?
And will this decision cause personal growth in my life?
Would I encourage my best friends or my kids to make this same decision?
And when you work through these questions, if you say yes, 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 that decision has now become obvious.
Green light.
In the same way, if you go through and say no, 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 no,
Red light.
that's also become an obvious decision. And if this statement, if this process leads you to a decision, again, it conserves energy. So if the obvious test doesn't work, try applying the wisdom test. This, I have found, made decision making much more efficient in our relationship.
And the Bible tells us if anyone lacks wisdom, they should ask God. So pray about it, and God will lead you to the right decision.
Well, we are in the kitchen with our kitchen couples. We have Mike and Diane Clemens and Dan and Danielle McCauley. And okay, guys, decision making in marriage. I mean, we all have to make decisions, right? And I love the verse that Bill was using in Proverbs, but a different take on that verse is wise men and women are always learning, always listening for fresh insights. And so we need some fresh insights sometimes on to know what to do, to do what's right.
She mentioned studies show 5,000 decisions a day that we make. Because most of them we don't even think about, probably subconscious decisions. Am I going to turn left here at this light? Or I don't know. Probably a lot of little things in there, but some of them are a little bit bigger, and some of them we need to talk over with our spouse. But some of them we do need to ask some questions about. Is this obvious? As Bill and Pam said, is the obvious test? Yeah, this is pretty obvious. And others that are a little more difficult, maybe we need to get a little wisdom here, and we can try to glean that wisdom from different things, different people. From God's Word, from prayer. But what do you guys think about these decisions in marriage?
Well, I think, marriage should be a safe place to talk about ideas and make decisions together, as opposed to, one being whatever, condescending, that's a dumb decision, or a dumb suggestion, or controlling, or any of those kinds of things. Like, just a safe place to talk through and find, what's best.
Even when we're at the restaurant and I'm trying to decide between two meals.
Especially then. Or when we are maybe like shopping, for instance, if I'm shopping and looking through a store and, I can't even I go to touch a shirt and she's like, nope. Okay.
All our dirty laundry gets aired on a better
color.
No, the color or style of something. I pick something, I'm off the rack. She's like, no, I'm not even I'm not even allowed to.
Around. He's the price guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And she's policing my style in that case. But so that's a lighthearted example. But just the idea of being open to making decisions together, to be able to talk through things and not have it just be a foregone conclusion that one person is making the decision all the time.
Yeah, in all seriousness, I don't think that God is looking down on us and when we make the wrong choice go, oh darn, Dan and Danielle made the wrong decision. Now all of my plans for them is ruined. He is bigger than that. He is more sovereign. But I will say, so I'm going to share a quick little story about a documentary I watched once, all about the show The Price is Right. That show. It was called The Perfect Bid. And it was all about a guy who actually beat the show. He beat the system and learned all of the prices of all the products that they would show. Now, luck was never on his side, and he didn't actually win, but he found himself more often in the studio audience, and he'd be cheering and shouting out the right answer. And one day, a man actually got the perfect bid. He came on down, he won, he made it to the Showcase Showdown, and he got his perfect bid right to the dollar and won both Showcase Showdowns. Wow. And you want to know why?
Why?
He tuned his ear to the one who had all the answers.
He was the man who knew the answers was
The
in the
guy
crowd
who knew
shouting
the-
them out. He figured it out
And
and
he
listened
knew.
for that guy's
He was
voice
listening
above
for
everyone
him.
else's.
And you know, life can kind of be like a 70s game show. There's door number 1, door number 2, door number 3, and we have voices yelling at us. And we need to stay close enough to the one who has all the answers, because it will make life so much easier for us. And you know, Psalm 32:8 it is, says, I will guide you along the best pathway for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. I will watch you with my eye. And it makes me think of a parent.
It says, I will guide you
With my eye. And when a parent kind of gives a look, when their kid's kind of out of line, and all they have to do is give them a look.
And you know what you're supposed to do.
Because they have that relationship that you know, I'm going to fall in line. And God, that's how He wants us. He doesn't want to have to yank us in the right direction.
Right, because the other part of that verse says, don't be like a horse or a mule
Or a
who
stubborn
needs a
mule,
bit
yeah.
and a whip and have spurs to make you move. But I'd rather guide you with my eye is the
relationship
idea.
and my closeness. Yeah. That's good.
That's so good, guys. You know, really tuning your ear to the person that has the decisions, you know, through reading God's word, through spending time through prayer, and learning, you know, really what His voice is like. And as Bill and Pam were saying, that then a decision, if you look for wisdom from God's word, then that all of a sudden becomes obvious.
And don't allow any distractions to keep you from His voice, like possibly the distraction of our dog Charlie.
Yeah, he's been walking around here,
I don't know if you can hear
and
Charlie
you can hear his little footprints, I think, going
toenails all
through. If you
over
hear
the
like click, click,
hardwood
click,
floors,
his
so-
toenails.
We're
he's-
barging in on His territory,
This is
right?
So
Charlie's house.
I should need to make a decision.
Yeah,
Make a decision whether to put him outside or not. But then he'll bark, and you'll hear the bark. So hey, we're in our house. here, folks.
We're gonna just plow through with Charlie, okay? So you guys, decision making,
For me, I just think it's super important that as a couple, you make decisions together. No matter how small, how big, it's important that you do it together. And whenever Mike comes to me with something, the first thing I always say and the first thing I think to myself is, did you pray about it already? Or did you start praying about it? Or just leave it with me and let me pray on it first. Then come back and we'll discuss it. Because I think it's so important to put God in the mix of all of that. Because no matter what decision I think, you know, if it's not in alignment with what He thinks, what does it matter, right? So as long as we are in prayer on it, I think the right decision will be made.
That's so good, Diane. You can be together on making decisions. Because if you're not in agreement on a decision, it's going to be the wrong decision. If someone pushes ahead with it, it's going to be a mistake. And so it's better to even table it and just say, okay, well, let's just table this, come back to it. Let's take time maybe to gather some more wisdom, maybe pray about it a little more, and then get your heads back together. Because you do want to be together in one heart when you make, especially big decisions. And so that's so good.
Especially if you're not sure if it's a yes or a no. A lot of times you just push through with a no because you're just scared when maybe it should be a yes.
I've heard, when in doubt, don't.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
but
what
just wait. But table it and wait and then see.
Yes. Our old football coach would tell us that very thing. When in doubt, don't do it, right? If you got to think that extra minute, don't do it. But I really love, Dan and Danielle, how your explanation up front, right? You dropped the mic right there. We didn't need to say anything from there. But I had this little thing just in sort of coaching people around decisions and execution. VDRP. If you have great vision, right? So it helps you to make better decisions. If you make better decisions with great repetition, it leads to precision, or it leads to execution. So VDRP. So as we talk about decisions, having a vision around something about how we make decisions and how we go into things. Many of that is for us, right? Comes from the Bible, right? So we have a vision of what we want to do, what we want to be, what we want to represent, right? So that vision that we have helps us to make better decisions, right? And we do that with great repetition, then it leads to precision. And so we get better as the time goes. Many of the decisions we make, we talk about a lot of the things, but many of those, most of those 5,000 decisions you talked about are things that we can do capably on a daily basis. If it's in us, right? If we choose to walk that way, to walk the vision that we know and understand, many of those things are simple. But as we move forward then, as those decisions become more important, larger decisions, you know, whether that be relational or financial or whatever that looks like, in those cases, it's then good to get good feedback like you get at A Better Us.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of A Better Us, that we had a big decision to make when we started A Better Us, because we had been out of television for a while. We had been enjoying ourselves doing marriage seminars, live events, and then the opportunity came to us to get back into television. And honestly, I was more leery about it than Ron was. He was saying, you know what, maybe we should. So we did. We sought wisdom.
Yeah, we talked to a number of people, and then just kind of out of the blue, we'd get a phone call, or we'd see this door is opening, and people encouraging us, and
that we didn't even ask about,
we
just
thought,
out of nowhere.
Okay, maybe God's trying to speak to us. Maybe we should do the marriage thing, but get it on television and try to encourage people who might not otherwise attend a seminar or an event. And so, so we gathered some wisdom. we used the wisdom test, and it helped us for sure.
It's good advice.
Good stuff, everyone. All right. And they've made a really good decision tuning in today.
You sure have.
Stay with us. For more marriage encouragement, follow A Better Us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And subscribe for your free weekly Marriage Moment email at abetterus.tv.
On today's show, we dealt with a couple of minefields in marriage that have the potential to produce more than just a little stress. And that is money and decisions, big decisions.
With both of these, it's crucial that as a couple, you're on the same page. And if you're not, then stop until you are.
Right. Remember, even though you may have different motivators, different desires, you are on the same team, and nothing will ever change that.
And as you go through the process of working through the differences, you will either be drawn closer together or you will inch further apart. And keeping that caution in mind from the outset can be a good reminder of the importance of protecting your us, no matter what you're going through.
Everyone goes through tough seasons in marriage, but the strongest couples we know don't go through them alone. They've invited God to be their life's anchor. His daily presence is the glue that holds them close together as a couple.
If you feel like you want to know more about how God can help your marriage and even receive prayer for your particular circumstance, the number on the screen is there for you.
It's our prayer line, and it's available 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Just give us a call, and you'll be amazed at the difference God can make in your marriage.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for joining us. We are so glad you did. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.